All right, welcome to Wisdom on the Front Porch. Wherever your front porch is that you gain wisdom, give wisdom, or share wisdom with someone else, that's your front porch. It can be a digital cafe or it can be right here on a Zoom meeting. And today we get to hear the wisdom of Rania. I am so excited that you're here. Can you introduce yourself to our audience?
Hello, thank you for the little introduction. So my name is Rania. I am a relationship coach, Reiki practitioner, speaker, writer, a few other things there with energy healing and modalities. Um, my the work that I do is to help women who are in toxic relationships to uncover that they are actually in abusive relationships, help them to heal their traumas and to rebuild their life. So, in a nutshell, helping to empower women to rise above the situation that they are in and they'll start their lives over.
Yeah, that's actually very noble. It's a difficult thing to get out of a situation that you've been in for a long time. Um, you don't know where the pain's coming from sometimes. A lot of times you want to blame somebody else or you blame only yourself and not let the other person take responsibility for their actions. And that's a tough situation. So let's imagine there's someone listening today, and I'm sure there is, who is in a situation that maybe they realize isn't the best thing. What advice would you give to them just for a first step?
Well, if someone hasn't been aware that they are in a toxic relationship and just recently starting to get some signs, or someone has told them, hey, that's not normal, why you're tolerating this, and then starting to raise some flags, right, is to educate themselves more. That's the first step, because we cannot leap, right? Like, we don't go
Right.
from like zero to to hero. So the best thing to do is to educate yourself. So when there is doubt, find out more, start reading, start looking at videos, research, and try to see what could your situation be. Like, which one is it? A very bad one? Is it something that can be salvageable? Is it something where you need to watch out for your safety? Or is, like, every person knows their situation and what they're experiencing. So depending on that, educate yourself. That's the number one thing to be done.
Right. Right. Yeah. And I had a thought, but I think I want to say this instead. So some people in a relationship, and it doesn't matter if it's male, female, whatever the relationship is. It can even be with a boss or a coworker. Um, they think they're stuck, that they can't do anything to change, that this is the way it's been, this is the way it's going to be. And, or they've said, yeah, I've tried, and they just end up coming back to the same thing. So they're kind of, well, I guess I said it, they feel stuck. So what would be something they can do to see that they can get unstuck?
It's a tough one. It really is. It's not easy because it's deep rooted, if you know what
Right.
I mean. That means it's been a lifetime of patterns and beliefs, and you telling yourself a story. You've lived a story that you've convinced yourself that that's all you are, and that's all you're gonna be. That your past is your present, is your future. We get mixed up in that, and again, it has to do with the willingness to want to know more, the willingness to want to get out of being stuck. So you need to be aware that you're stuck in order to get yourself unstuck, right? So
Absolutely.
it's sad for me to say this, but someone who's really stuck and can't see any way out, nobody can do anything for them, no matter what you try, because it has to come from within.
Right.
You can sit
That's the
here
key part
and
right there. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you can want to help someone and tell them many things and guide them and show them, but if they're not ready and if they are not willing to start the journey of uncovering, of understanding, of seeing and confronting the truth, because I understand that confronting the truth is very painful. So it's sometimes better for us to pretend that this isn't happening, to convince ourselves, to justify what's happening, to give excuses, right? And to say, oh, well,
Right.
that's just the way everybody is, or whatever reason you
Yeah.
give yourself. And that's when you're stuck, and there's nothing anyone can do for that person, because that person has to do the work themselves.
Right.
Unfortunately,
And
it's just the way.
yeah, I just want to emphasize that there is something that can be done. You don't have to stay stuck, but it has to come from within inside of you. You don't expect other people to do it for you because you're the one who has to take the action steps to do something, to make a change. Um, whether it's just listening to a podcast like this, talking to a friend, maybe a friend is the one who brought it up to you. Maybe and there's I think if we pause and think about things that people have been saying to us, um, whatever it is. My mind's blank. I'm sorry, I can't think of any
No,
examples right now.
the
It's
the
like,
thing the thing is that when we're in trauma, when we are in trauma, our judgment is clouded, our thinking
okay,
is clouded, so we're not at our optimal where we can think clearly and make right decisions, including asking for help, including educating ourselves. Even those things we are unable to do because we are in the trauma, right?
right,
We're in a coping. We've just been used to cope in whatever dynamic we are in, whether it be, like you said, work or relationship or whatever it may be. We've found a way to deal with it, and we're in denial because it's too hard to confront, and we feel that we can't change anything. Oh, it's just the way it is. I gotta deal with it. What to do, you know? So once the person, let's say now we've left the person who's stuck. Let's say now the person has come to a point where they're ready, okay, and
okay,
they wanna move forward with life. Educating yourself is definitely one of the first things you can do. Like you said, listening to a podcast, reading a book, talking to friends, seeking professional help as well if you can, if it's feasible. Um, you know, just YouTube videos even will give you a lot of information. Instagram, just while you're scrolling through your Instagram feed, through your Facebook feed, through your TikTok feed, even what you'll
right.
find something that will come your way, that would guide you and that would take you to the next step, that will take you to the next step. And it's just all you have to do is have the intent.
Right, right.
Once the intent is there that you want to change your life, that you are not okay with what's happening, you just don't know from where to begin, just have the intent and everything will just start showing up miraculously, because
That's
all you have
true.
to do is decide within yourself that you don't want this anymore, that you
Yeah,
deserve better, but you just don't know where to go and where to start. It will start showing up for you.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. One thing too I want to warn against is don't think you're going to change the person that is being toxic to you because you know, that's just not going to
Hopeless case.
happen.
It's a hopeless case, but that comes with education.
Yes, it
See,
does. It does.
people who are still thinking that they could change the person and they'll still live their happily ever after, or their work situation is going to be better, or if whatever the situation may be, that's the person that's actually still stuck, who's
Yeah,
going to think that way,
yeah.
right?
Or the
Once you be
sorry.
Yeah,
It's good.
what no, that's okay. Once you become unstuck, or you start to go on the journey of knowledge and education, and information starts to come your way, you will start to learn that the only person you can change is yourself.
Yeah, and that's a good point that I could say what I was going to say is that you think, oh, if only I do this or I can do this. Well, you keep changing yourself to stay in the toxic relationship and you need to stop. doing that if you want to get out of it. Because why should you keep changing to benefit the other person damaging you? And that's how I see it. I'm not a professional at all. I'm a person who went through a situation, and if you look for ways to keep trying to fit in, the only thing that's changing is you. And I see that for myself as getting rid of another part of me and getting rid of another part of me until you finally get to the point. If I keep getting rid of another part of me, there's not going to be any of me left, and I'm not going to deal with that anymore. I am valuable. The one thing that I say, and I should have started out with this, I think it would have been good, is that you have great value in you. You are worthy, you are enough, and you matter. And the way I explain that is you have great value in you because every choice you have made, doesn't matter if it's a good choice or a bad choice, but every choice you have made, every way you have acted or reacted, that is the value inside of you. And it is that value inside of you that makes you worthy, not anybody else outside, not your job, not what you do, not other people. It's all inside here. That's what makes us each so very unique. And that makes you enough. Now, does that mean, well, I'm enough the way I am? I don't have to change anything. Well, you can always improve on yourself. That's why we always have tons of self-care and learning about mindset and daily affirmations and things like that. Life, you're living life every day. If you have a river that's flowing, the river's changing stuff every day. If it doesn't, it sits still and it becomes stagnant and smelly and doesn't have much life in it. Those are stinky little ponds. Don't be a stinky little pond. I'm not calling you a stinky pond. Please don't take offense of that. Just using it as an example. And I just want you to know that you are enough. Yes, we can improve ourselves, but this enough of what you are is why you matter, because you can now, as you take another step forward, you can help somebody else who hasn't come as far as you have. And that's what I love about Rania. She went the distance and every day she's improving on her life and making every day better. And she's sharing with others along the way so they can get out of a situation, which is great. I'm here to help other people grow and go on. So what I love about Wisdom on the Front Porch is no matter what you do, and I know this is entrepreneur culture and lifestyle, but as entrepreneurs, some of us do have the business of helping others get out of a tough situation. Now, if it's a job, oh, I need a job. Well, tell me, I'm kind of changing the subject here. We're going to move a little bit. Let's just talk about a job, not about personal relationships or anything. Let's talk about a job. You're in a job, you need the job, you've got to pay your bills. There's not much else out there for where you are, but you have a very toxic boss or another toxic coworker. What's some advice you could give to somebody to deal with that type of situation?
Well, at the end of the day, every person has to make the decision based on their own situation. Just
Right,
because you're dealing with toxic people, the answer isn't always just to leave.
right,
Sometimes it's not
right.
possible to leave. And that's whether we're talking about in this particular example now in a workplace or a relationship or family members. It's not always easy to just walk away and leave. And especially now we're talking about a need for an income to have a roof over
Mhm.
your head and food on your table, and you have a family to feed or bills to pay or obligations, whatever it may be. It's not an easy decision to just walk away and leave. So
Right,
the first thing we need to do is again recognize how how much you are being affected by the toxic behavior that's around you by whomever,
mhm.
and see if you can cope with it, to find a way that deal with it while still doing your job to the best of your ability and just continue in this situation. So if you can find a way to do it, for example, if they just like throw words at you that are like demeaning or whatever, throw one ear at the next and continue doing your job. If it's something so simple. But if there's more to that, if there's a lot of gaslighting and manipulating, and they're twisting and they're trying to force you to do something you didn't want to do, or whatever it may be, right? Then the next step would be is to stand up to yourself, which is setting your boundaries. That's important. The next step from like ignoring and just trying to cope silently is to confront it, right? And you try to confront it in such a way, again, where you don't lose your peace, you're still professional, right? But you set up the boundaries and saying and sticking to the facts, not to feelings. Because with
Right.
work, you don't want to go down the road of feelings. It's about facts. So you try that. And if again that doesn't work, then you need to make a decision at this point. Can you is it worth it staying there in this environment for how long? It's not going to change. Again, as we've mentioned earlier, toxic people for the most part don't change. It's
Right.
you who have to adapt. So either you find a way to adapt in a situation or you get out. So if you've tried all of those things and it's still not working and you cannot tolerate it, then you look for another job and say bye bye and you go.
That's
Because
right.
at the
That's
end of the
right.
day, a job is just a job. It's just a job.
Right. I was thinking of a story that I was told, and it was about a person who was at a job, and every morning this other person would come in and just really start complaining and unloading and whatnot. And it was difficult to have a good day, so to speak, because you've got all this negative stuff that's just been poured onto you. And so one morning, the person, instead of letting that person come into their office, they went directly to that person's desk, and they happened to be on a call. And so while they're on the call, they're looking around in the cubicle and sees a picture of the family, sees something else that's a personal thing. And and then once the call's over, the person turns and looks at us and they said, I wanted to come and talk to you today. You don't always have to come over to my desk. I wanted to make the effort and come over to your desk. That's a beautiful picture of your family. Tell me about them. And it just kind of changed the dynamics that had always been set in. And then from that moment on, that person didn't come over first thing in the morning and just unload. They actually had real conversations that were, I don't want to use the word normal, but were
Positive,
not
like positive.
harmful, positive.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was just like you could have a conversation without all of that heavy negative in there.
Yeah.
And even though that's not your, some people may not think that's toxic, if it's ruining your day, if it's
Yeah.
stopping your ability to function right, that's not a good thing to have there. Toxic doesn't have to be really negative. I mean, it is negative, and most of the time it is very negative. But sometimes look at it and see, is there something I can do in this situation to maybe reverse it, to turn it around, to do something different? Now, if they'd approach that person and that would have happened and the same thing would have happened over again, then of course you'd have to do different measures. You never know if you want to talk to HR and say, hey, I really have a problem, or talk to your supervisor or something. And I've been in some jobs, maybe you know about this too, to where everybody is affected by this one person. And what do you do? Have you been caught up in that gossiping type atmosphere, which is always a negative thing? It's just never produces good results. Or are you ready to step out and do something different? Now, what do you suggest on that?
Well, as you're talking, I'm recalling a lot of my work experiences, the several places I've been to. And I would say there is always that one person in every workplace that existed, what you
Yes.
just said.
Yes.
I think in every place there's one, in every family member there's one, in every friendship there's one. You'll always find one, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're laughing about it, but it's sad.
Yeah.
Um,
But I have
So
a thought before you go on with it. Maybe
yeah,
there's that one person because they want to be around people that are not their normal. They want to have that normalness, but they don't know how to react with it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I think my train of thought is going somewhere else, but please remind me to come back to your original question.
Okay.
In regards to the toxic behavior that is coming from a toxic individual, why are they toxic?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That's a very important point to touch on is they've become toxic. They weren't born toxic. When we're born, we're pure and innocent. Look at a baby. When they're born, do you ever look at a baby and say, "Oh my God, that baby's toxic"? No, the baby's cute and innocent and just lovely and full of life, and we know what a baby is about, right?
Right.
But
Right.
something happens as they grow up and childhood or into teenage or into adulthood. Things happen, right? Life happens,
Right.
and they experience things, and they get traumatized, or they develop coping mechanisms, and they become toxic. So at the end of the day, people who are behaving in toxic ways are suffering themselves,
Right.
right? They're
Right.
really going through deep, deep issues, right? Some of it can be related to childhood, and some of it is just the situation that they're in right now that made them toxic. It could be a very
Right.
bad marriage that they're in. It could be something with a child, that made them like that. Whatever. I mean, there's many scenarios. There's no way I can cover all scenarios here. But
Right.
like,
Right.
regardless of what the reason is, know that there is a reason. People don't just want to be like that. They're not happy being miserable
Right.
or like negative. So we need to have some compassion, and that's why the example you've shared with us earlier with the person that shifted the dynamic by going to that person's office, that's when you go beyond being the victim of the person who's pushing on you the toxic behavior. That person was rising above that and decided to go to get to know the person rather than judging them from that place of, oh, this person is annoying, which is what most people would do. They just sit there
Right.
and go, oh, I don't want to talk to that person, and then go talk to another person about that person. So you being toxic again. You're also being toxic by
Yes.
going and speaking to someone else about that person that's coming and ruining your day. It's a cycle. But it takes
Right.
one
Right.
it takes one person to say, no, I'm gonna have compassion. I'm gonna try. There's no guarantee, but I'm gonna try and shift that, right? And that's what that person in your story did. And there are many other options that we can do in situations, again, depending on the scenario. You just gotta think for yourself, right? Like, I cannot tell you
Right.
all the things that you can do. But that's the gist of it, is that understanding where the toxic um, behavior could be coming from, and it does not excuse the other person's toxic behavior. Again, some are worse
Right.
than others. The example you shared wasn't that bad actually, but it is toxic to some degree, but it's not as bad as other examples that are
Right.
truly truly toxic when it's extreme. But yeah, so when it's something like this is manageable, you can have compassion and see how you can shift the dynamic. Otherwise, eh, try to eliminate communication with the person, right? If you cannot change them, just back away, distance. That's the
Yes.
best thing to do. And just ignore and let it be and do your own thing, or confront it if you have to. Go to HR, as you
Right.
also mentioned, that sometimes, or just leave the environment. Sometimes the best thing to do for yourself is to just leave. you,
Yep.
you you can't change people around you. You can't change the environment. It's not healthy for you. So why are you still there? Why are you holding
Right.
on? And this is where fear comes in.
Mhm.
Fear comes in from, am I going to find something as good as what I have now? Maybe my age, I'm not going to be able to get a job. Have you tried? Have you even
Right.
tried? Right? Like, we are quick to already decide that it's going to be difficult. We're already quick to decide that it's not going to be possible. And we put all the obstacles because we are not ready for change. Because we get stuck ourselves in the comfort zone of where we are, whether it
Yes,
be
that
in
sounds weird, but
workplace,
it's true.
yeah, whether it be in work dynamics or relationship dynamics. we are in a comfort zone, even with the toxic, even with the abuse. We're like,
Right.
"What, I have to start all over again." Yes, you do have to start all over again, and maybe it's better for you. But we
Yeah.
don't see that. We don't see that. We're always thinking of how difficult it's going to be, the challenges that we're going to face. We're always looking at the glass half empty, not half full.
That's right. You brought up a good point. We look at the difficulties we're going to face, and it's like, that's where you reach out and you get some guidance. You get a counselor, you get some coaching, get someone to help you change the mindset that you've been dealing with all of this time and thinking about, because you don't want to go get another job that's exactly the same environment you have right now. So how do you change that? How do you change that mindset? You know, it, most people don't realize when they get out of an environment, they're just like, "Phew, I'm out of there. I've got relief. It's going to be so much better." But you haven't done anything to really take care of your brain since that's happened. It's like, I don't know, maybe you got in a car accident. So you walk away from the car accident. Oh, wow, I'm out of that car accident. I feel so much better. But you've got gashes on your arms. Maybe you've got a broken bone that, is hurting, but not so bad. All of this stuff. I mean, it's kind of graphic. I'm sorry for being so graphic, everyone. But the thing of it is yes, you're out of that situation, but you still have to take care of you. You have to take care of the things that have hurt you or damaged you. And that's where you reach out for help. It's good to reach out for help. It's good to reach out to someone like Rania, who can help you get through that mindset even before you leave. Just say, hey, Rania, I'm in this situation. I'm not sure what to do. Um, let's talk about it. And so do you have like a 30-minute consultation or something, or how does somebody get a hold of you, and what's the process of that?
I do. I do. I have it on my website. I have it on my Instagram page, a link to my calendar, 30-minute free, uh, we call it consultation. I call it let's get acquainted so we can see how we can work together. So I can see what is the issue and how we can put a plan together and put a plan.
Yeah, I like that you put together a plan. And I know you do more than that just from talking with you. You've got such a wonderful heart and such a brilliant mind. So your website is R2R, the number two, the letter R, coaching.com. Is that it?
.ca actually. Yeah.
.ca. That's right. You're in
Yes.
Canada. So
Yes.
don't put .com, but .ca.
Yeah.
So you can
R2R
find her.
coaching.ca.
Right. Well,
And
Rania,
my Instagram page is at R2R coaching. So that's the
at
easiest way to
R2R
say it.
Coaching. Okay. Thank you so much for being here. I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
this. I know you've got to come back. We'll have another conversation, probably a longer one.
No
And go
problem. No
on.
problem.
This is just wonderful. I love the information.
Well, it was good
So
chilling with you on the porch. Next time we'll have a
yes,
drink. Okay?
that's right. We'll do that. All right. Thank you,
Bye, my
everyone.
dear.
We'll see you next time in Wisdom on the Front Porch.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for joining us today on Wisdom on the Front Porch with your host, Ellis Kirkpatrick. You can find us on our website, wisdomonthefrontporch.com, see previous episodes of the podcast, and view issues of the magazine. Did you know you can submit questions, leave reviews, or suggest topics? You can also tell us where your favorite front porch location is and what it means to you. We hope you gain value and insight from today's or previous talks. We appreciate your support for us so we can continue to provide value and expertise to you and others. Subscribe to Wisdom on the Front Porch magazine and receive a second year absolutely free. This is a limited time offer available exclusively to those who mention the name of today's podcast. Join in next week when we bring you another great insight into the world of entrepreneur culture and lifestyle. Make today a great day. Always believe that something wonderful is going to happen.